one single message from Justin Johnson or Paul Smith that says, hey bro, let's go shoot somebody. I gave you tons of messages over their objection, where Justin Johnson is talking to other people, talking about killing people. They weren't discreet about it. Where is a single message to GOVAN from any of these people over the course of 4 months that says, we're going to do this? Can we get you action? We're going to give you $10,000 or $38,000 or $50,000 or $100,000 or $1.5 million. You think if they would have had it, they wouldn't have shown it to you? They know the truth is the text messages are only about music because he's friends with Justin. I'm sorry, Justin's not a nice guy. They all live in the same neighborhood. They've all known each other. Just because you have quote communications doesn't mean you're in a conspiracy to kill someone. Cornelius. Let's go over the slides. This will speak for itself, and I'll let you think about it because I've hammered the point about didn't prove it. I don't need you to say he didn't do it if you don't want to, but they absolutely, for God's sakes, didn't prove it. Let's go to the next slide. All right, so you see this, what the government says? Angel Warren's going, absolutely. This is Star Defense Exhibit number 1. This C bruh, so they see Cornelius. Send me bruh number so I can get my phone, right? He needs to get his phone. Next slide. Quez's number. Guess what he told you is the one honest thing he said. His brother's name is Marquez Smith. They call him Quez. His brother is the one that got the phone at best. You know why? Because they had TBI Gardner up here. They asked him to do location data analysis on the phone, right? You guys remember all that? And they did it solely for Cornelius' phone, and they did it for Dustin's phone. But yet, they didn't show you any location analysis. All they have to do is say, in that general area, this is where the tower's coming. This calls are being made. Where was this call from? Where was his brother Quest? They just, yes, you caught a pat on your hands that's out there on his daughter's birthday.
Our future won't be handed to us. We will build it. But how can we, when the education we need is still just an elective?
The power to create with computer science and AI.
The skills transforming every industry.
And increase
Cornelius' money. Because that's the crux of the whole case. And a bunch of BS cell phone records that don't tell you anything. Because they didn't do the location analysis. They can't give you a single text message that says we agree to do anything. And we know it was at least 4 months. Cornelius did it. And when Justin went out. Next. And if you're not biblical, I'm sorry, but growing up that way, it's just used to be told, the truth never changes. You don't need to remember it. You don't need to practice it. While we're meeting with prosecutors and lawyers now before, I don't want a deal. I'm just here out of the goodness of my heart. I'm going to get a mandatory life sentence. Insane. Next. We also showed you the letters from Cornelius that he sent to his sister saying, I've got that lawyer that you're paid for. It's this guy's lawyer, and that guy cooperated against somebody else and walked from a murder. That's what you have in black and white in Cornelius' own handwriting. And that is what all of you said when I said, what would you do to avoid a life sentence? You guys said, probably anything. All right. We know this to be true. Next. And we know all this to be true. Next. And we all know this didn't happen. It just didn't happen. His story just didn't happen. And both he and Angela said it. Because, remember, he had talked to his family to go see Angela between the 14th of December, her first statement, when she didn't know nothing about nothing, and the 17th of December, when she's decided. And note how they have to prompt her to ask, could it be somebody with a name? They had to ask her, didn't you forget something? Didn't he tell you something he might have forgotten or something that he needed? They had to prompt her. This is 30 days after that. You don't have to remember the truth This was the biggest day in somebody's life, you would think. I just killed Dolph from running around, and she can't remember who the guy was that picked up the stuff at pressure room. Oh, it was out there. There's a few cameras at pressure room. They had the absurdity to tell you, well, you know how long the camera might be working, or how long it's cords. You know how to find that out? Maybe go there and ask them. We've had Ring cameras and other things like that for a decade. It always goes to the cloud. Most likely, it's going to be preserved for a year or so, which is what most businesses would do, especially in a dangerous part of town. And guess what? You have those crazy MPD cameras everywhere. You drive home and you'll see, and it's got a little thing coming out of it. I've showed you some of those from right around the area. Nobody checked any of them. You don't have to take my word for any of it, because everything I'm telling you is going to be backed up by independent evidence. You don't have to trust me for anything. You don't know me. But I want independent proof before I get in bed with a murderer with a machine gun that shot a guy 20 times in broad daylight, and thank God he didn't kill anybody else in that movie shot. And this is who they're in bed with. Next. All right. Sorry, just have to calm myself down. The other things with the shenanigans, as they try to tell you, is when the officer accidentally said, I mean, it was Justin something, I think he said that, but he said, AKA Dolph, I'm sorry, not Dolph, but in that. And Mr. Cornelius says, yeah, I met him too miscellaneous in a moment of weakness. And you know, when I asked about it, he just smiled. You have murdered somebody, and we're up here chuckling. The government's chuckling with him, and he's laughing at me, making smirky faces, and says, I saw you on TV. That's the behavior you want from a guy that took a machine gun and murdered people. In fact, his definition is, I didn't shoot that many people because sometimes we didn't get the shots off or the gun here. And you're going to make a deal, not a single text message anywhere, take my word for it. And oh, by the way, I think he's a federal snitch, but I don't know if I believe that or not, because he's never snitched on me. All right, next. And then he also tells Uncle Ron, maybe we should have gone and talked to him, whoever Uncle Ron is, but I'm not a policeman, and I'm not trying to put anybody in prison. That there was a bug on him, that he's a snitch, and so you're going to have to plan a big old murder. Next slide. So we know he paid for his lawyer, and we know that was the team issue, and you know the absurdity of the prosecutor in the last statement. They're going to get to go up again and call me every kind of name in the book, which is fine. I can handle it. I will take those arrows for this man that I've grown to care about over the last year and a half, because he didn't do it. They had the audacity to tell you we can't indict somebody that's dead. Chuck died 2.5 years after all this happened. Remember, Justin Johnson was indicted in December of 2021, about a month after this happened. Cornelius was indicted in January of 2022, about a month and a half after this happened. There is no investigation done in 2023, or essentially 2024. It was done, they indicted and got who they wanted. So at some point, you gotta ask yourself, what happened here? And I have no idea, but it's not my burden to prove their screw-ups. If you believe Cornelius, he says Chuck is the one that set it all up. His girlfriend said that. Then they backtrack and say, well, he was there and he set it up to being over. None of it happened. Keep going. And with Miss Arnold, I don't know how you date a murderer that's been domestic violence to me, stolen from me, done this. I don't know what her issues are, my fault or not. She's just doing what the man's telling her to do. They've had visits, they've talked about it, and her story is still iffy as far as that goes. And God bless her. I hope none of you would be with a essentially soon-to-be convicted murderer for 4 years after all this happened. Right, next. And the interesting thing there was, we keep talking about the car on Bradley. Bobby Carter also lives on Bradley, and Bobby Carter was involved in the shootings with Mr. Cornelius. And in fact, Angela says Bobby was involved in the DOLPH shooting as well. Next. All right, we already know this as far as the jail calls and the family coming to see her. Next. And we also know about the varying amounts of money this whole thing was worth. So now we get to the meat and potatoes of a few things I want you to consider. Remember, the two pillars to this case is you gotta believe Cornelius Smith, and the judge has told you over and over again, you have to have that agreement, you gotta believe it's out there, otherwise nothing. They've come up with 15 different methods, from murder to second degree to 30, I don't care if it's 47th degree murder, none of this stuff happened. There's no assault, there's no solicitation, there's nothing. So let's talk about the detectives. Next slide, please. All right, so the Detective Browning, the all-powerful Detective Browning, told you that Govan last talked. Oh, I'm sorry, I got my slides next time. We know Dabney, who actually I respect him, so nice talk to him. He said they didn't do it, straight up. Didn't try to sugarcoat it, we just didn't do it. Didn't go to pressure wall to confirm anything this man was saying. Tells you straight up, we didn't go to AutoZone. Tells you straight up, there was no relevant evidence of AutoZone, so there's a mystical receipt that's all crumbly and you can't tell what it is. That's supposed to be some kind of evidence now. And they didn't get around to investigating Joe, who was on Team Cornelius or whatever you want to call it. At least he was honest enough to tell you that. Next. So these are the slides you saw yesterday with Detective Browning. And this is where the evil of it all comes in. He did these cold detail records for you. And this slide cuts off at 11:16 at 3:01:17. Right? They stopped it right there. I've highlighted for you. That was the slide. You might wonder, maybe, what's the big deal about that? It's just some phone call to somebody, no biggie, right? Yeah, he's talking to Cornelius here, no problem. But guess what? If they would have given you the full story on the slides where they turn bias you, next slide. You see, on the same 11:16 at 5:37:15, this is Jim's number. And he spent a 6-minute phone call. It's not on the slide. I had to pull that off the call data record that you're gonna have a thumb drive. You will never find it or see it because there's thousands of pages of call information out there. But you see, this thing stops up there at 3 o'clock. They don't tell you this part. That Justin Johnson talked to Jill before the murder and also sent him a turkey emoji. If you're a law enforcement officer, your job is to investigate and the facts go where they may. You don't have a job to convict people. That is why I respect Dabney. He made a mistake, he owned it. Browning is a liar. Pathological liar through and through. Next slide. So okay, this where Browning also told you that they last talked to Govan on November 5th. You remember an opening statement that told you Justin Johnson had not talked to Govan for at least 2 weeks prior to the murder. No communication whatsoever. But they tried to tell you that, oh yeah, on November 5th, he must have talked to Govan. And then Cornelius last talked to Govan on November 15th. Just remember those. It was very specific that they argued. So let's go to the next slide. So what you'll see is, on November 5th of 2021, this is Govan's number. Her name is Govan. He's getting a call from Justin Johnson. You see this? This is the communication they had on November 5th. How many seconds is that phone call? Let me break it down to you. Zeros. It never went through. There was no phone call for at least 2 weeks. No text messages. Nothing. And this is the guy supposed to be planning a murder with the most famous person in Memphis. Are you kidding me right now? Next slide. So there's an old movie that said the tail wagging dog. You've got Cornelius telling him what they want him to say as he tells you he likes to do. And everything they do is back up what Cornelius says. There is no explanation why you go talk to Joe or bring. There's none. There's none. All right, next slide.
The top 1% now own more wealth than the bottom 90% combined. Futuristic America is rising up. We're fighting for a $1,000 a month basic income payment for.
That's criminal. Browning told you he just came up with these slides just a day or two before all this happened. This is 4 years after the fact. And I'm seeing the slides for the first time. And the slides are complete BS because they keep misleading you about stuff. And so if the incriminating text existed, they would have showed them to you. They've cut off records in half, so you can't see the rest of the story. Go to the next one. We know he agreed with me that these text messages, there's thousands of them with Justin Johnson. It's about music, because Justin was in videos and all that stuff, and Govan was there. He was a colleague, a friend, whatever you want to call it. That doesn't make you a murder criminal.
They going to jail.
And we know he talked to Cornelius about pills. 14 communications is what they call it. What they don't tell you is how many of those 14 actually went through. What were the phone call codes?
Thanks everybody for joining the room.
Voicemail, or it could be 2A, or the call goes through properly. Is it a text message? I don't know. Last night I'm talking to my daughter just about her boyfriend. Between okay, yeah, no problem, I had 16 communications with my daughter in a span of like 3.5 minutes. It doesn't mean anything, and you can't presume you know what the communications are about, if in fact, for the love of God, they even went through. I want to show you one bald-faced lie by the government right there. There was no call on November 5th. Keep going. So we have the turkey emoji, we have the 6-minute phone call, and you know this secretive plan, PRE, as his bodyguard told you, this is social media. They do this every year. This is what they do. Remember, he's a man of the community. They put it out there. Everybody knows they're doing turkey emojis every year. Most of you probably know about this. Next. All right, skip this. Let's go to the next one. And then we have this. It's not anything I could get voluntarily out of that man. We had to press and press and press to show that Justin Johnson already knew Joe. Didn't need our guy to do any of it. That is why you will never see a single text message of any incriminating nature. Because I can promise you, had it said anything, a comma out of place, they would have it plastered up here on the board saying, see, we got him, we got him. Next. All right, so Garner, he said, MPD asked me to do what? Location analysis on a couple of phones, Justin and Cornelius's. All you have to do is plug in a number on a computer. We could have done it. Hey, it's supposed to be pinging out pressure levels. Maybe more believable. Even if you choose not to go there, you can just ping it. You don't need the actual phone if you've gotten rid of it, because you can just order the CDRs from the phone company, as he told you. He did cell phone tower analysis for a very short amount of time, and then it just stops. Is this kind of investigation in Memphis we call to put somebody in prison for life? And none of the other phones were done. Where was Jeff? Hell, where was anybody else in this case? Huh? All right, we've got this, so covered that. Go next. We've covered the AutoZone thing. I just respectfully ask, if the audacity to put a complete receipt in front of you that you can't read and just say, I just know this now. It is not mentioned in any police report anywhere as I asked him. He couldn't answer their question. But now suddenly it shows up in the phone. We know that the unit was garbage because they talked about the auto part from earlier. You can't put a date, time, place on it. It's all what they call red herrings to mislead you. Think there's something nefarious out there and just use your imagination to convict people. You would never let this happen because somebody you care about when you saw this. Some of you might be supervisors. If this half-assed work is what they brought to your desk, you fire that person immediately. Don't say you wouldn't, because it makes you look bad. This whole county is a freaking embarrassment with regards to this trial, and the whole world is watching, and this is what we've got. All right, next. And then the last thing is you got to ask, if I set up the plan, I don't know if I'm having a murder car come to my house. And if I am having a murder car come to my house, why don't people just come inside and change clothes? There's some riding around all over town, trying to find a place to go change. And again, I know you may think I'm crazy, but there's no blood in that car. Was this even the right Mercedes as far as that goes that they got? You remember Treon Ingram and another gentleman that stole that Mercedes a while earlier. Treon Ingram didn't come and testify because Treon Ingram picked up another murder right after that. Where did the blood go? Cornelius told you point blank, no ifs, ands, or buts, and girlfriend. I took bleach and I wiped it down. And the lieutenant from CSI with 28 years of experience said, that just didn't happen. Where's Angela's car? Remember, she said he was bleeding all over. Where's the evidence of any of that? All right. So all I do is cross my hands and beg you guys, he is your peer. There is no evidence here. You would never accept what's happened in this courtroom in your own personal lives to make any decision of any kind. And he deserves that same respect. There is nothing here. They're going to get to come back up again. Remember, we talked about first impressions. You need to use your minds, your eyes, your ears, and your noses, and call the Smith test BS on this whole thing that they're about to give you yet again. There's nothing here. There's no solicitation, there's no facilitation, there's no assault, there's no murder, there's not a text message, there's not a phone call worth a damn, and they aren't telling you the story. Make them tell you, why didn't we investigate you? Make them tell you, why didn't we investigate all the people that helped these folks escape? And if you want to talk about conspiracy, how did he conspire or solicit Justin Johnson? Have you heard anything about that? Who's Jamarcus Johnson? Have you heard a single word out there? They're all together in a conspiracy. All you have is Cornelius' word. He's the linchpin of this whole case. And none of us would trust him. And we sure as hell wouldn't want him much. And then we have phone records that actually explain it. But if you make it all the case and have a sleepy detective get up there and talk about it, sounds pretty good. He didn't do it, but you don't have to take my word for it. They didn't prove it. If this case gets a conviction, then I just need to stop being a lawyer because the system's shot to hell. Thank you.
Are you kidding me right now? This is just called the whole city of Memphis stupid and dumb. Everybody from the DA to the police officers to the prosecutors, he called y'all dumb. Called everybody, all one of them dumb. Are you kidding me right now? This case is not about the prosecutor. This case is not about Duke. This case is not about Justin. This case is not about Cornelius. This case is about Hernandez Govan. He is the person on trial, not the city of Memphis, not the DA, not the prosecutors, not you, Hernandez Govan. That's who we are here about today. That's what this proof has been about. Embarrassed. Who should be embarrassed? Hernandez Govan. He is the person that made the choice to get engaged in this conspiracy. He made that choice. We've talked about choices. There are a few things in life that we can control, and our choices are one of them. What choices did Hernandez Govan make? You've heard that over the last few days of the choices that he's made. His choices led us here today. All right, police, they say they didn't do a good job. Convenient story. Something, novel. Because they didn't arrest everybody has to be arrested for them to do a good job. There was a twofold investigation. Sergeant Browning and Sergeant Dabney both told you that. It's very convenient that that part was left out of the defense's argument. There's a twofold investigation. Homicide and MGU, those are two different entities within the Memphis Police Department. There was an ongoing investigation. And as Ms. Williams mentioned in her closing statements, this is a conspiracy. It's ongoing. To let you know that they were still investigating. Look at the call records. Look at when those call records were received. Now, defense will have you believe that, you know, there are thousands of pages of call records. There are. But guess what? You'll have access to all of that, and they're on a flash drive. You can search. You can put in the numbers that were given to you. When things happen, or what happened with those calls. They're there for you. There's no hiding. There's no putting them aside. They're there for you to look at. So I wanted to clear up that misstatement. The focus at the time of the incident, November 17, 2021, was on a homicide. It was not on who went to AutoZone, who went to Pressure World. The focus was on a homicide. A person was dead. The defense never mentioned that we were talking about a dead person. Dead. It's everybody's issue and fault but Hernandez Govan. The police didn't kill Adolph Thornton. Cornelius and Justin killed Adolph Thornton. But who put them together? Hernandez Govan. Look at the
I took control, went solo, and built my own online knife empire. I loved being a chef, but working in someone else's kitchen just...
And Justin, on the same day, about July 27th, around that time, they looked like they exchanged numbers. And if they knew each other before then, they would have had to exchange numbers. They would have already had each other's numbers. Look at that. Look at the call detail records of Cornelius Smith. You'll see about the first time he had contact in his phone anyway with Hernandez Govan was about July 25th, 2021, around that time. All you have to do is plug the numbers in. It's not rocket science, as he'd have you believe. Hernandez Govan put these individuals together. In Govan's investigation, Govan's role in this conspiracy, as far as MPD was investigating, really didn't start until Angela Arnold gave a statement. Now, if we are to believe anything Angela Arnold says, then we are to believe call records, which Sergeant Garner said they don't lie. They're the records. They are what they are. So we can't believe that. We're not supposed to believe Angela either. We're not supposed to believe anything that's happened. The records are what the records are. But they bring in Sergeant Coburn or Lieutenant Coburn. Officers are bad. They don't do a good job. But he wants you to, well, this officer did a great job. Just this one that we bring in. He did a great job. Cornelius will tell you, he didn't just get a whole thing of Clorox and pour it all over the car and wipe it down. He said he sprayed some substance on a towel and wiped. He was still hurt. It was in the dark. He was in a rush. He was scared probably that Govan was going to come out and shoot him or do something because he was across the street from his house. But you want us to, the defense wants you to believe that all the officers are bad, they did everything wrong, except that part. The investigation was ongoing. Look at the call records. Look at when they were done. And you can still investigate because you want someone arrested tomorrow. It doesn't mean the evidence is all there. At this point, Jook is dead. Bobby Carter's dead. Joshua Taylor's dead. We can't arrest him. We're not digging him up from the ground. They are dead. That point is dead. Browning just analyzed the numbers that were there. Garner said the records are what they are. They come from the phone company or from the phone. All Browning did was analyze it. To say, hey, these many calls came from this individual, this many contacts. That's all Browning was brought here to testify about. But because those records show Hernandez-Govan communicating with the conspirators throughout the summer, after fall, from July until November 17th, at least November 20th of 2021, oh, Browning's a lie too. And when all he did was analyze the records. The records were made by Mr. Govan. Defense also brought up that basically Justin Johnson had access to Juke on his own, basically. But we know that Govan made that connection. July 27, 2021, we know that. We see that in the call records, we see it. Govan already had Juke's information, Govan already had Justin's information. This is by July 27, 2021. Govan had Cornelius' information. Govan texts Justin address to Juke's smoke shop. And the contact was created between the two while they were there. But guess who did not have contact with Juke? Cornelius. He was a part of this conspiracy as well. And he got up here and he testified and he told you that he really didn't have much contact with Juke. Guess who he was communicating with? Hernandez-Govan. That's who he was communicating with. And let's look at the definition of conspiracy. You just have to create that at least with just one other person. So if you take defense at his word that Justin Johnson had other conspiracies going on and this was something separate, Hernandez-Govan was still egging on Cornelius. He promised to get Cornelius paid. Cornelius didn't have direct access to Juke. He told you he was trying to still get his money. December 2nd, 2021, he sent a message from Angela Arnold's phone via Instagram message. He said he couldn't just straight out put it, hey man, I want my money. I did what I was supposed to do. He said he sent him a message trying to get his attention. A week later, he's arrested. But Hernandez-Govan was the link between all of them. Hernandez knew Juke. Even if the order, if it did, that's still being investigated. But if the entire hit came from Juke, it was communicated to Govan, who then put it out to Justin and Cornelius. Hernandez-Govan did that. Any of the people who did the killing. He didn't have contact with Cornelius. He didn't have contact with Justin. The phone records will tell you that that's not true.
Yo, y'all see that?
It's simply not true.
Y'all see that right there?
The phone records are there. There was contact. There was contact the day before. There was contact the day before that. There was contact days before that.
Yo, y'all see that right there?
And even if they didn't talk on the phone, What is stopping them from walking to this house?
Yo.
Communication is there. Doing everything to take away from the fact that this trial was about Hernandez Govan. And there's nothing that says, okay, we don't
y'all see that right
talk
there? Yo, that's how they gonna convict
all
them.
this is after.
They got people voting right now.
Nothing in the jury
Y'all see that
instructions that the
shit
judge
right there in
gave
the
you
corner?
or read to you said, all right, this conspiracy ends,
That's how
we're
they
talking
doing
to
it.
me.
They letting the people
This is not
decide.
girlfriend and boyfriend stuff. This conspiracy was ongoing. Hernandez Govan is just trying to pull himself away at this point. But this, Justin and Cornelius, they were put together by Govan. It's been reiterated several times. All right, even if you believe what the defense says, say Justin was conspiring with others. Okay, two things could be true at the same time. But what we do know that shortly before the turkey drive, Cornelius said that Hernandez Govan called him and Justin together and was like, hey, y'all know this turkey drive getting ready to come up. Y'all ready? Y'all ready to make this money? Y'all ready to do this? Cornelius told us that. The call records, they showed there was some communication shortly before the turkey drive, the week before Thanksgiving. And Govan just reminded them, this is your mission. This is what you're supposed to do. If you want this bread, you need to make it happen. You need to make sure that you take care of that family that's been out there. You need to make sure this is what you do. So Justin chose, even if there were other conspiracies, just if there were other conspiracies on the side. On November 16, 2021, Justin Johnson chose Cornelius. He chose Cornelius. The same Cornelius that he was introduced to through Hernandez Govan. That same day, Justin Johnson sent Juke a turkey text. It's the same text that defense has entered into evidence. He sent that on November 16th. The defense just showed you there was some communication with Juke on November 16th. On November 17th, again, the day of the murder, the day that DOLPH was killed. Even if there were, again, other conspiracies, Justin Johnson chose Cornelius Smith to go on a hunt with him. He chose to go on a hunt with him. He chose him the day before, he chose him on the day of. And Cornelius Smith said the only way he knew who Justin Johnson was because of Hernandez Govan. He told you that several times. Then we talk about Cornelius. Let's talk about his testimony. Cornelius was the state's witness. Prosecutors are probably not going to be hard in screaming at their own witness. The point is to get the witness to talk so that you, the jury, can understand what's going on. They're a witness. Cornelius, at this point, has already testified in a previous trial. He has no reason to come in here and lie to you about what he did. He said and told you, as you watch the video, the murder of Adolph Thornton. He told you, that's me with the big gun on him. Now, if any part of that is to lie about, why lie about him killing somebody? That's where you lie at. He didn't lie about that. He told you. I mean, I did it. But I wouldn't have known Justin Johnson except for Hernandez Govan. And he put us together to get this done. He told you, the defense attorney, at least several times, that he was under the influence. You saw the video. Cornelius Smith was up there. He was high. Questions that were asked of him were confusing. And he told you that I don't remember. I had taken some pills, and we learned he'd been taking pills. So why at that point say anything different? Even Angela Arnold said he took some pills that day. Yeah, he may have been fine, but he told you. I've been doing this for a long time. It may not affect me the same way that it affects someone who doesn't take pills. But in addition to the pills he was taking, he took some Tylenol PM. The defense tried to make it seem like it was just, a headache medicine. But he was getting that itch. He saw the end of the road coming for him. He knew the marshals were behind him. He knew it. He'd taken them pills. So they tried to get a statement out of him that day. He's all over the place. He's confused. Doesn't really say much to him. But he gives a statement eventually. And he tells you on the stand what happened, how Mr. Hernandez Govan set all of this in motion. And the defense, paints him as a liar. Cornelius said his game with the women. Well, Angela, she's still with him. Some kind of game. Letitia Jackson's kid's mother, he had enough game where she took his phone. He handed over his phone to her the day he got arrested. And Miss Ferguson, the neighbor, she said, he's a sweet baby, just sweet as he won't be, just slow. He helped her out. She didn't have a bad thing to say about him. Said he didn't give her $500, or someone didn't give him $500 for this. How do we know Miss Ferguson is the neighbor that happened to? Live on the street, there's several neighbors. But he brings sweet little Miss Ferguson in. He had nothing bad to say about Cornelius. Cornelius, this testimony was backed up by Angela, by the evidence in phone records, by the murder. All of that is backed up. Okay, you have looks like an AutoZone receipt in a picture crumbled up. You have access to the picture of that receipt. It was a picture that was in the phone that Cornelius took. It was in Browning's presentation. Look at the receipt. Blow it up, stretch it out. You'll see that was taken, it looks like AutoZone, and it was a receipt from November 20th, 2021. In the end, all of this points back to Hernandez Govan. He got the ball rolling. He kept the ball rolling. He kicked the ball in the end. He introduced Cornelius Smith and Justin.
At Zaxby's, you can lemon pepper any way you want. Get lemon pepper wings, lemon pepper sandwiches.
That's where the conspiracy started. Again, all fingers point back to Hernandez Govan. Justin Hernandez Govan. Cornelius Hernandez Govan. Juke, as the defense keeps wanting to throw out, Hernandez Govan. And why go to Hernandez Govan house after they committed the murder? Because that was comfortable. One never said these were the smartest killers. They didn't plan on getting shot. That wasn't part of the conspiracy. When we get shot, we're gonna go here. But they'd already had the getaway car at Hernandez Govan house. So they originally met at Hernandez Govan house back in July. If they would ever meet up during the time of the conspiracy, from June of 2021 until March of whenever they were arrested, they would meet at Hernandez Govan's house. Want to go shoot a video? Go to Hernandez Govan's house. They're all in the video. Park your getaway vehicle? Go to Hernandez Govan's house. Park your motor vehicle? Hernandez Govan, that's the person. Now, why did they not go in? Maybe he wasn't there right then. Maybe he was like, someone went down, I'm getting out, who knows? But we know what happened, we know where they went. We know that the murder vehicle was parked there. We know that the getaway truck that they used to get somewhere else was parked in front of Govan's house. We know that. Even Cornelius Smith told you, Cornelius Smith told you that Justin wanted him to meet him on the day of the murder. He wanted him to meet at Govan's house. Cornelius said he couldn't get over there. So Justin came and picked him up. Again, all of this going back to Hernandez Govan, as much as the defense tried to deflect and get you to choose different deflections, it all points back to Hernandez Govan. Hernandez Govan had choices. He chose to bring Cornelius and Justin together. He chose to encourage them to have a hunt, to go on a hunt. He already knows, but the biggest bounty was DOLPH. He knew that Cornelius had a drug habit and that he needed money. And he played upon that. He prayed upon that. And he put him together with someone who was just as hungry for him. Justin and Cornelius were put together by Hernandez Govan. He chose to ask each of them for a cut of the proceeds. He chose conspiracy. Hernandez Govan chose murder. Adolph Thornton will never get to experience many of the things we take for granted in getting old. He will never get to experience gray hair. He will never get to experience wrinkled skin, crackling knees. He didn't get to choose to grow old. That was taken from him and put in motion by Hernandez Govan.
Yeah.
You, the jury, you have a choice. The choice is now yours. You have a choice in whether you hold Hernandez Govan accountable for his role in this murder, for his role in this conspiracy. And I ask that you choose to find Hernandez Govan guilty of murder in the first degree and guilty of conspiracy. Thank you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm picking up on page 27. Deliberation, order of consideration. In reaching your verdict, you shall first consider the offense charged in the indictment. If you unanimously find the defendant guilty of that offense beyond a reasonable doubt, you shall return a verdict of guilty for that offense. If you unanimously find the defendant not guilty of that offense, or have a reasonable doubt of the defendant's guilt of that offense, you shall then proceed to consider whether or not the defendant is guilty of the next lesser included offense in order from greatest to least within that count. You shall not proceed to consider any lesser included offense until you have first made a unanimous determination that the defendant is not guilty of the immediately preceding greater offense, or you unanimously have a reasonable doubt of the defendant's guilt of that offense. If you have a reasonable doubt of the guilt of the defendant as to all offenses charged and included in that count, you shall return a verdict of not guilty and proceed to the next count. Verdict. Count 1. The charged offense in the first count of the indictment is conspiracy to commit first-degree murder. Lesser included offenses in order of consideration from greatest to least are facilitation to wit, conspiracy to commit first-degree murder; solicitation to wit, conspiracy to commit first-degree murder; and accessory after the fact to wit, first-degree murder. Count 2. The charged offense in the second count of the indictment is first-degree murder. The lesser included offenses in order of consideration from greatest to least are second-degree murder, facilitation to wit, first-degree murder, facilitation to wit, second-degree murder, solicitation to wit, first-degree murder, solicitation to wit, second-degree murder, aggravated assault, facilitation to wit, aggravated assault, accessory after the fact to wit, first-degree murder, assault. Count 1. When you retire to consider your verdicts, you will first inquire whether the defendant is guilty of conspiracy to commit first-degree murder, as charged in count 1 of the indictment. If you find beyond a reasonable doubt that the defendant is guilty of this offense, your verdict will be: we, the jury, found the defendant guilty of conspiracy to commit first-degree murder, embraced and included in count 1 of the indictment. Check the corresponding box on the verdict form and sign one of your names as foreperson. If you unanimously find the defendant not guilty of this offense, you will next inquire whether the defendant is guilty of facilitation to wit, conspiracy to commit first-degree murder, as embraced and included in count 1 of the indictment. If you find beyond a reasonable doubt that the defendant is guilty of this offense, your verdict will be: we, the jury, found the defendant guilty of facilitation to wit, conspiracy to commit first-degree murder, embraced and included in count 1 of the indictment. Check the corresponding box on the verdict form and sign one of your names to the verdict as foreperson. If you unanimously find the defendant not guilty of this offense, you will next inquire whether the defendant is guilty of the next lesser included offense in order of consideration from greatest to least. If you find the defendant is guilty of a lesser included offense, your verdict will be: we, the jury, find the defendant guilty of, placing that offense in that blank, embraced and included in count 1 of the indictment. Check the corresponding box on the verdict form and sign one of your names to the verdict as foreperson. If upon all the proof you have a reasonable doubt of the defendant's guilt of the offenses charged and included in count 1 of the indictment, under the law defines and explains to you, it is your duty to acquit him, and your verdict will be, we, the jury, found the defendant not guilty as to count 1. Check the corresponding box on the verdict form and sign one of your names to the verdict as foreperson. Count 2. You will next inquire whether the defendant is guilty of first-degree murder as charged in count 2 of the indictment. If you find beyond a reasonable doubt that the defendant is guilty of this offense, your verdict will be, we, the jury, found the defendant guilty of first-degree murder as charged in count 2 of the indictment. Check the corresponding box on the verdict form and sign one of your names to the verdict as foreperson. If you unanimously find the defendant not guilty of this offense, you will next inquire whether the defendant is guilty of second-degree murder as charged and included in count 2 of the indictment. If you find beyond a reasonable doubt that the defendant is guilty of this offense, your verdict will be, we, the jury, find the defendant guilty of second-degree murder, including and endorsed in count 2 of the indictment. Check the corresponding box on the verdict form and sign one of your names to the verdict as foreperson. If you unanimously find the defendant not guilty of this offense, you will next inquire whether the defendant is guilty of the next lesser included offense in order of consideration from greatest to least. If you find the defendant is guilty of a lesser included offense, your verdict will be, we, the jury, find the defendant guilty of placing that offense in that blank, embracing included in count 2 of the indictment. Check the corresponding box on the verdict form and sign one of your names to the verdict as foreperson. If upon all the proof you have a reasonable doubt of the defendant's guilt of the offenses charged and included in count 2 of the indictment under the law defined and explained to you, it is your duty to acquit him, and your verdict will be, we, the jury, find the defendant not guilty of count 2 of the indictment. Check the corresponding box on the verdict form and sign one of your names to the verdict as foreperson. When you return to the jury room, you will first select one of your members as foreperson who will preside over the deliberation. When you have reached a verdict on a particular count, the foreperson will check the corresponding box on the verdict form and sign his or her name to the verdict as foreperson. Take the case, consider all the facts and circumstances fairly and impartially, and return to the court with verdicts that truth dictate and justice demand. Now, there is a couple things you need to know. Pages 33, 34, and 35 are your verdict forms. So I kept referring to check the corresponding box. These are the corresponding boxes. You got count 1 and 2 pages for count 2. Okay? I also have here the official copy of the jury charge. There are a couple of minor changes that I've made, like I caught one misspelled word, a couple misspelled words. And I've made those changes on here, nothing that's going to change it substantively. But the official copy is going to go back to the back. Please do not write on it. Free to write on your own copy. Just use this as the official copy if there's any discrepancy on what you may have with you. Okay, so this is the official copy. So is everybody in a good position to deliberate? No issues with the court will feel about. All right, so we shall choose 4 alternates. Once again, all of the exhibits are going back to the back with you. You will be provided a computer, a blank computer that you can use to look at any of those zip drives if you'd like. Miss Stacy, do you have anything back in the back you need to collect? You'll just stay right where you are, please. Miss Wilkes, ma'am, do you have anything back in the back? Mr. Cobb, do you have anything back in the back?
Just a book.
You want to go ahead now? Mr. Ayers, do you have anything back in the back? All right. You want to go collect? If you have any questions, please write them down, and turn on the light. And, Officer Parks will come collect the question. George, you are excused to deliberate. I'll do this thing. All right, you can stand in recess.
What's on for your person?
I always just show lawyers this. I had a bad experience one time, so I always show lawyers what the numbers are, make sure we are playing with the numbers. All right.
Yo, so I like to thank everybody that tuned in. You know what I'm saying? Right now, they deliberating on a verdict. You know what I'm saying? Right now, in my opinion, it's a wrap for these dudes. If son think he ain't going to jail when he the main reason, well, I ain't gonna even front. We can't even say he the main reason, but because they could have got anybody else to do it. But hey, it's crazy how he picked the wrong dude at the end of the day, obviously, because you preyed on son whole shit because, like how he said, he claiming that you knew about his drug addiction. So you hitting son off with the joints and you seen that he was vulnerable. You seen that son was weak. And he was thirsty, obviously. That boy was so thirsty. He was so thirsty that he turned into a informant. He was so thirsty. Like, so you thought pills and all that was gonna get son. But now look, tables turn. So for sure, in my opinion, I feel like they're gonna find son guilty. Without a doubt. Excuse me, y'all. A little gotta get something to drink. But I believe they're gonna find son guilty. I believe all of them going down. CMG is about to be crazy, and then the Rico might not even come, but something is gonna come down because the person that I guess they probably wanted really for the Rico is not here no more. So that joint is coming. So Yo Gotti, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's gonna be wild for you, bro. Cause your name is all through this joint. You had everything to do with it. That's what it's looking like from this standpoint. Everybody who you was connected to folded. And that's real talk. That's crazy how son got on that stand and told everything. And then like they just said, son did all of that so he could be able to have money on his books and he'll be able to put his baby mother up or whatever the case may be, make sure his kid's good. That's why he told all that shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, so, at the end of the day, RP the Dolph, most definitely, we know that. It's gonna be justice serving this most definitely. So, hey, it is what it is. But you know what I'm saying? I'm gonna catch you on the next video. I'm about to drop a lot of new videos, whatever the case may be. So y'all stay on the lookout. You know what I'm saying? Y'all already know, man. We ain't asking for no money on. Only thing we ask for y'all to do is hit that button. There's no other way, TV. I tell them to get where to get lost is only right. We here to stay, you heard? Yo, make sure y'all tap in on the tap in. And that's real talk. If you're new to the channel, make Make sure you know what I'm saying, but come 10 toes down. If you're new to the channel, make sure you would come 10 toes down. You know what I'm saying? Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, share the content and all that, whatever the case may be. Leave your thoughts, because we most definitely want y'all to leave your thoughts, and we appreciate everybody that support us, most definitely. But I want to know what y'all thoughts on this young Dolph situation. Because the way everything going now, man, it's looking real quiet for Yo Gotti, and that's a fact. It's been a little. It's crazy too how Son really did get hit. Dolph brother really did hit back, and all of that. Like Son told everything. That's the crazy shit. He told everything. He wasn't holding back on nothing. So Govan, his lawyer tried to do that little closing shit at the end, and that shit didn't even make no sense. To me, it ain't make no sense. I don't know about to anybody else, you know what I'm saying? Maybe I peeped it, but it ain't make no sense to me. And I ain't even, anything he was saying, it didn't make no sense. So if Son really think that he ain't getting, that boy is getting slayed too, with everybody else. Real talk. Shout outs to the whole Memphis. You know what I'm saying? Long live Dolph. Most definitely. But it's just crazy. This whole trial been Wikito. And that's a factamundo. This whole trial been crazy. Yo, make sure y'all hit that like. Make sure y'all subscribe to the channel. Thank everybody that is tuning in. I appreciate y'all. Most definitely. You know what I'm saying? But this is crazy. Real talk. That shit is crazy how Son got paranoid and went back and started trying to wipe his princess shit off the car. That shit is wicked. And then all of the money that they put up on Dolph and them is wicked. And then the whole thing is, yo, they really thought they was gonna get that money. That's the whole thing. Ain't none of them even get the fucking money. Y'all ain't getting no money. So y'all did it for nothing. Y'all really did it for nothing. Real talk. Real talk. Y'all got no money out the whole deal. So what was the whole reason of doing it? Why would you believe? Why would you believe? Man, the world nowadays is crazy. Niggas are fall for anything. Real talk. So I said, yo, I'm gonna give you this. Do this for me. Take care of this for me. I'm gonna hold you down. That was dumb for believing them. Real talk. That was dumb for believing them. Real talk. Yo, do this for me. I'm gonna give you this money. You still waiting on that money you ain't gonna never get, son. So it don't even make no sense why it was really done. And that's real talk. It don't make no sense why it was really done. Real talk. Yeah, but we about to get up out of here, man. Until next video, I'll see y'all next time. You know what I'm saying? Make sure y'all stay 10 toes down. Make sure y'all stay safe out there. Most definitely. You know what I'm saying? Again, my condolences go out to young Dolph family and this whole camp. May young Dolph rest in peace. Until next video, though, I'm out of here, y'all. It's only right. No Other Way TV. We here to stay.